Yo, what's up? Viers here. Welcome to How to Arena. This episode we'll be taking a look at one of Monodark's core units, Necromancer Noxia. Noxia is a very powerful arena unit. She's been a top tier pick ever since her release and never really fell off until the present day. Since Guardian Tales only has point-click attacks, Noxia's summons can easily disrupt most opponents and redirect weapon skills for game-winning plays. Noxia has a medium skill floor and a high skill ceiling, meaning though it is easy to be good enough to make her work, fully mastering her takes a lot of practice. Now let's take a look at her best team comps and builds. Noxia is very flexible in terms of team building. Having a universal 40% HP party buff, she can slot into most team comps. This flexibility gets even better due to her being a hybrid damage dealer, which means she can potentially slot into both melee and range teams. However, since the nature of Noxia's gameplay is mostly about getting the chain skills and sweeping multiple units, it is better to put Noxia on teams with at least one other defensive party buff. This allows her summon to tank more hits, making it easier to survive until chain skill. Because of Noxia's hybrid damage, she does not get the full benefit of range and melee buffs. Crit and dark damage greatly benefits Noxia since it buffs both her melee and range damage. Her best comp is going to be Monodark, since Arabelle's party buff gives Noxia so much damage that your chain skill can take down any units other than tanks. Other notable comps are triple tank, crit, or weapon skill regen speed. I do not recommend running Noxia on offensive comps since her dogfight isn't amazing and it makes her summon very squishy. Now let's move on to her builds. For accessories, the best one would be Earth Necklace or a mirror accessory with good rolls. Earth Necklace allows Noxia to deal with counter units like Camel and Carol more easily, which is very crucial especially when playing her in Monodark. Mirror is also a very good alternative since most players will not have Earth Necklace, boasting the highest weapon skill regen speed among all accessories, allowing you to easily win mirror matchups if the opponent isn't running mirror accessory themselves. Mad Panda Brooch can be an option too, though I personally do not like using it because of its lack of weapon skill regen. It can be a very good pick if you're playing a weapon skill regen speed team though, since the 30% regen from the party buff is already more than enough. For budget options, I'd only recommend Gold Pocket Watch. It has decent bulk and has the necessary weapon skill regen. Now moving on to merch, the best option in my opinion is Ogma Plastic Model, especially when playing her in Monodark. As I mentioned before, Monodark Noxia already has enough damage to finish off every unit with chain except for tanks. Ogma Plastic Model allows her to finish off tanks too without sacrificing toughness unlike with SSP. Other great options are Lord Smiley Face Cushion if you're already satisfied with your damage, or Little Princess Figure, which is the best in slot if you're playing her in a skill damage comp. And of course, if you don't have those maxed out, use a photo card is a great budget option as well. Now let's move on to her best maps and matchups. Noxia can be picked on every single map, but she excels the most on maps with a lot of walls. Her best map is definitely Ancient Ruins. Her summon can block off a narrow choke point, forcing the enemy to fall back or run around it. Though she's not necessarily bad, Noxia struggles on maps with dead ends and on Deathmatch, the only map with no obstacles. Due to her summon, melee units have a hard time beating Noxia, so picking Noxia against melee comps is never a bad idea. She's also great against ranged units with non-piercing projectiles since she can easily block those with her summons and avoid taking too much damage. Noxia only has a few hard counters, with the worst one being Camel. Camel's attacks can target multiple units at once, so Noxia can't really block any projectiles with her summon. Camel also has a faster weapon skill, which makes it risky to trade weapon skills against him. Her Vati is also a huge threat. With her increased damage against supports and great mobility, she's hard to get away from and she deals a lot of damage to Noxia. Her weapon skill regen debuff also allows Parvati to weapon skill first, which means a weapon skill trade guarantees Parvati to chain faster than Noxia. Ara is also a great counter. She has a faster weapon skill cooldown, which means it's hard for Noxia to get a weapon skill trade. And of course, light units have an elemental advantage, so they're good at countering Noxia, but most of them aren't meta, and some of them can still get outplayed. In this section, I'll be teaching you some tips and tricks to improve your Noxia gameplay. Noxia can fill multiple roles in your team. Lead Noxia is very good, since her summon can deal damage to the opponent while taking boxes on round 1. So if the matchup permits you to take boxes, it puts the opponent into a very bad situation, where if they choose to attack you, they don't deal a lot of damage, and if they take the other box, they will take chip damage from your summon. Another factor that a lot of arena players overlook is the fact that Noxia's summon gets carried over to the next round. At first glance, this might not seem like that huge of a deal, since you can just instantly summon at the beginning of the round anyway, but what they don't realize is how important it is to have your summon button off cooldown. Usually, Noxia is forced to play close to her summon since without it, she is very vulnerable and she does not deal a lot of damage. However, having a summon up at the beginning of the round allows you to play around it and eventually run off to the other side of the map without risk since you can just press summon there again when the opponent catches up. This allows you to buy so much time that you can cast your first weapon skill for free. And combined with the massive healing from her chain skill, this is what allows lead Noxia to sweep through entire teams if the opponent is not prepared for it. Noxia Last is also an amazing option. Since she is one of the units with the highest outplay potential, if you misplay on your first units, you can always play around Noxia and try to go for a reverse sweep, depending on the situation. Having such a reliable unit at the back allows you to play your first two units more flexibly, knowing that a dangerous trump card is still waiting for her turn. A common mistake I see on Noxia players is normal attacking too much. Noxia's chain skill, combined with the damage of the prior weapon skills and the free hits while the opponent is downed, can easily take down squishy units from full health. Normal attacking will only slow down your movement, making it easier for the opponent to go around your summon and actually land hits on you. And though this might rarely happen, there are instances that the opponent will be too squishy that they will just die from your second weapon skill before you can get the chain, because of how much damage they took from your normal attacks. This denies huge healing from your chain skill, making it harder for Noxia to sweep. Remember, Noxia's primary win condition is getting a chain skill, so focusing on movement and positioning rather than shift damage from normal attacks are most often the correct plays to make. Of course, this is not applicable to every single matchup, the most notable example being Mayriel. You'd want to have a huge health gap against Mayriel so that she'd be pressured to use her weapon skill as soon as she can, making it more predictable and much easier to dodge. So in this case, normal attacking while staying behind the summon is usually the way to go. Since hitting chain skills is Noxia's main win condition, it is also important to learn how to actually get to this win condition. This actually depends on the matchup and the current state of the game. I classify Noxia's weapon skill as a 3-skill chain. You are guaranteed to chain the opponent within 3 weapon skills as long as you graze them with every single cast. However, Noxia has the potential to consistently chain in 2 weapon skills, but choosing to chain in 2 or 3 weapon skills varies on a lot of factors. Lilith is a very flexible matchup. She has a slower weapon skill regen than Noxia, meaning you can bait her into trading the first weapon skill with you, guaranteeing you chain on the second one, which pretty much guarantees the win because Noxia has a faster cooldown. However, Lilith's weapon skill deals a huge amount of damage, so you can only make this play if you're at high HP. You also have the option to weapon skill as soon as it's off cooldown, and try to bait Lilith's skill into your summon. This saves a lot more HP in exchange of greater risk, since if they actually manage to hit you with their weapon skill, your second skill will most likely not chain them, but their second skill will chain you, putting you at a disadvantage. There are also some rare cases where your summon gets taken down right before you cast your weapon skill that will chain them. If you can, try to delay your weapon skill until you can summon again, since using the chain skill without the summon will greatly reduce its damage and completely remove its healing since it actually comes from the summon. That's all for this guide. Noxia is a complicated unit, so I'll not be able to teach every single trick that I know in one video. You can figure out some tactics that work for you as you play, or you can go watch some of my full games and see if you can pick up some neat tricks. Anyway, thank you all for watching, subscribe for more arena content, and see you on the next one.